There is no denying that the concept of family has certainly changed in American society over the last few decades. Statistics continue to show that fewer Americans are getting married, and those who do so are having fewer children or none at all. This is interesting because what we know about the Romans is when they were left to their own devices, and they could build the city from scratch, they didn't let it grow in an improvised way. The rapid expansion in the power of computing and the rapid fall of the cost of computing and storage and communications has made it feasible for information technology to move into all sorts of areas of life. Because of our training, we do have expertise in certain very narrow areas of language, but we don't have the authority over what to do with that knowledge, or what to do with other knowledge that the community produces. It is mathematically possible, but it's so incredibly unlikely that it would have that it tilts me in favor of the Christian story in which God creating life, simply a question of saying let that be and there was. It is so enriching, and it is really inspiring to actually work with these kids, particularly when you can provide them with an ability to start to playing their own music, as opposed to just taking part through listening, and listening to other musicians and really learning from. Birth rates drop to its lowest point that has never been seen in the society. It also has impacts on male in the society, especially young man, and it might have some connection with unemployment rates as well. Maintaining access to reliable and affordable energy is a persistent challenge and a significant material hardship. This is a problem referred to as energy insecurity, and it affects millions of American households each year. Under conditions of extreme heat or cold, people can suffer from mental and physical health consequences, including the possibility of death. Strategies for coping with uncomfortable temperatures, such as burning trash or sitting in one's car with the heat running, can lead to tragic outcomes as well. Sometimes people live too remotely to get timely care if emergency occurs. Even when living in a city, the patient-to-doctor ratio can be as high as 50,000 people to just one doctor, making it impossible for that doctor to meet the demands of healthcare in that area. A paradox is a statement that seems to disagree with itself. To try to explain the paradox, some 19th century scientists thought that dust clouds between the stars must be absorbing a lot of the starlight so it wouldn't shine through to us. The interaction between genetics and experience that shapes brain architecture is embedded in a reciprocal relationship, the relationships that children have with the adults in their lives. A picture with data of economic growth percentage. Over the past 20 years, the economy in Latin America developed by 80%. After globalization and reform, the growth slowed down to 10%. People were asking, Why and start to consider if the reform is positive or not. When the two flowers offer up the same quantity and quality of nectar, some plants seem to be evolutionarily adapted to be slightly warmer because the warmer ones get visited more by the chilly bees. When it comes to getting pollinated, apparently the heat is on. In developed nations, we have significantly reduced our black carbon, but we still have much more to do. We need to tighten our standards at home and invest in cleaner technologies in developing nations. In a world going on 7 billion people, you might feel rather little yourself. Rather than making a living for themselves, young people are depending on public services and subsidies. They have lost control of and responsibility for their economy and governing institutions. About HFSS, which means food high in fat, sugar and salt, an organization, Advertising Standard Authority, is introduced, and it helps consumers make healthy decisions in buying food and drinks, also helps consumers identify the food contents in the labeling, like sugar, salt. A feeding station was set up in the lab to mimic a source of nectar. Then foraging bees were introduced to the dangers at the station, such as competition from rival colonies. When foragers returned to the hive, they stopped bees dancing. Scientists think the behavior warns dancers of a dangerous source of nectar. Protons are particles found in the atomic nucleus, roughly 1,000 millionth of a meter in size. The LHC starts with a bottle of hydrogen gas, which is sent through an electric field to strip away the electrons. Salespeople will still get some types of pay even if they are in training, when sales are low during certain months, or if market conditions get volatile. However, it can be more complex to administer.